You know how in manufacturing, especially thinking about pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals, there's this constant push. Simplify processes, save money.
But without cutting corners on quality, right? That's the tricky part.
Exactly. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something that seems, well, surprisingly elegant as a solution for solid dose formulations tablets specifically. It seems to tackle just that.
That's right. We've been looking through the material, and it really highlights the incredible versatility of xanthan gum, how it fits into making tablets.
Yeah, and most people might know xanthan gum from like gluten-free foods, right?
Well,
Gives them
yeah.
structure.
It's a polysaccharide, comes from corn usually,
Yeah,
but its role here is much more technical.
right. So it's fascinating how this same, natural ingredient steps into the pharma and nutraceutical world, becomes a key piece of the tablet itself.
And our mission today really is to unpack the real advantages, economic, operational, and quality advantages that xanthan gum brings when you use it as an excipient, I mean.
An excipient,
Where?
one of those inactive ingredients.
Yeah, but inactive doesn't mean unimportant. In this case, it's doing some heavy lifting. It's much more than just filler. It's kind of a functional powerhouse. Simplifies the whole thing.
Okay, powerhouse. I like that. Let's unpack that. One of the first things that jumped out was its ability to do like two really critical jobs in tableting. It's not just one thing.
Exactly. What's really interesting is this dual functionality. It acts as both a binder and a disintegrant.
Okay, so a binder, that's like the glue, holds the tablet together so it doesn't fall apart.
Precisely. It creates that cohesive, durable tablet, strong enough for handling, packaging, all that.
Right, so no more powder at the bottom of the bottle. But then,
Yeah.
how does it also help it break down when you actually take it? That seems opposite.
It does seem counterintuitive, yeah. But once that tablet hits the moisture in your GI tract, you want it to break down fast, get the active ingredients released.
Hmm.
And xanthan gum, acting as a disintegrant, helps that happen. It facilitates that rapid breakdown.
So it holds it together firmly, but then helps it fall apart quickly when needed.
That's the key benefit, really. This dual role means manufacturers could potentially replace several other specialized excipients. One ingredient just for binding, another just for disintegration.
Ah, so fewer ingredients overall.
Potentially, yes. And that simplification, well, it's not just a minor tweak. It can lead to some pretty substantial cost savings and a much cleaner formulation.
Okay, that makes sense. And there was also some comparison data in the materials looking at xanthan gum versus other binders. What was the takeaway there?
Yeah, that was quite revealing. The effectiveness at very low concentrations is really noticeable. We're talking like 0.5% to maybe 1.5% in the tablet formulation.
That sounds tiny. How does that compare?
Well, compare that to something common like MCC, microcrystalline cellulose, that often needs, 5% up to maybe even 20% to do its job effectively.
Wow, okay, that's a huge difference in the actual amount of stuff you need.
It really is. So right away, you're potentially saving on raw material costs. Less xanthan gum can still give you good tablet integrity, good strength.
And it still helps with the disintegration part, even at that low level.
Exactly. And the other thing that comparison highlighted was just how easy it is to work with. Simple dry mixing. Meaning you just blend it with the other powders, no need for complex steps like pre-gelatinization, which you might need for, say, certain starches or gelatin binders.
Okay, so simpler manufacturing steps. Less time, less hassle.
Translates directly to operational savings, yeah. Time, energy, maybe even labor.
And is this some kind of new experimental ingredient? Or is it well established?
Oh, it's very well established. That's another critical point. It has broad regulatory approval. FDA, European agencies, other major bodies. They all accept it.
So companies can use it pretty confidently without worrying about regulatory pushback.
Generally, yes. That widespread acceptance is huge for manufacturers. Takes away a layer of risk.
Okay. And you also mentioned moisture control earlier. Why is that important for a tablet?
Ah, right. This ties into shelf life. Xanthan gum is hydrophilic. It likes water, attracts, and holds onto it. In a tablet, this ability helps manage the internal moisture levels. It can protect the active ingredients from degrading, especially if they're sensitive to humidity.
So it keeps the tablet stable for longer on the shelf.
That's the idea. Better stability means a longer shelf life. Less waste from expired products, fewer returns. It all feeds back into the economics.
So let's put it all together then. Using less material, simpler processing, it's widely approved, and it makes the product more stable. That sounds like a strong case for cost savings.
Absolutely. The economic benefits stack up, lower raw material costs, like we said. Reduced operational costs from simpler manufacturing.
Less energy, maybe less labor time.
Right. And then the improved stability that cuts down on waste from failed batches or products expiring too soon. And the information suggests these savings don't compromise the quality consumers expect.
It really sounds like it could significantly streamline things on the pharmaceutical production side. How exactly does it optimize those processes?
Well, think about the whole chain. If one ingredient does the job of two or three, you're not just saving the purchase price. You're simplifying your supply chain. Fewer materials to source. Fewer materials to run quality control tests on. Fewer materials to validate for regulatory purposes.
The testing and validation part must be huge.
It is. It's time-consuming and expensive, so reducing that complexity. It streamlines inventory management, you need less storage space, and you minimize risks tied to having lots of different suppliers.
Fewer moving parts, less can go wrong.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It can lead to shorter, more efficient production cycles overall.
And the information also touched on bioavailability. How does Xanthan gum play into that?
Yeah, this is really interesting because it helps the tablet disintegrate effectively.
Break down properly.
Right. It can actually enhance the bioavailability of the API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient, meaning the body might absorb the drug more efficiently.
Okay, so you get more bang for your buck from the actual medicine.
Potentially, yes. And the implication there is huge. Manufacturers might be able to use a lower dose of what is often a very expensive API.
While still getting the same therapeutic effect.
Wow, that could be a massive cost saving. And of course, better, more reliable absorption means more predictable results for the patient, which is fundamental to quality.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to the nutraceutical side. There's this big trend towards natural, clean label products. How does Xanthan gum fit in there?
That's really. This is a major plus for nutraceutical brands trying to meet consumer demand. Xanthan gum comes from natural fermentation.
From corn, you said.
Usually corn, yeah. So it aligns really well with that whole natural and clean label movement. The statistic mentioned, what was it, over 80% of consumers wanting clean labels.
Yeah, 81% prioritizing clean labels for food, which likely carries over.
Exactly. So using xanthan gum instead of, say, synthetic binders or disintegrants lets manufacturers create simpler, more transparent labels. That really resonates with health-conscious consumers today.
Builds trust, maybe? Makes the product seem more wholesome.
I think so. It enhances the perceived value and trustworthiness in a really crowded market.
So it's not just about saving money behind the scenes. It's also about boosting appeal out front.
Precisely. And there's another angle for nutraceuticals, too, related to stability again. It can help reduce the need for nutrient overages.
Overages. What's that?
Okay, so with vitamins and minerals, they can degrade over time, lose potency, to make sure the product still meets the amount claimed on the label by the end of its shelf life.
They put extra in at the beginning?
Exactly. Those are overages, sometimes quite significant amounts, because xanthan gum helps stabilize the formulation and minimize that degradation.
You might not need as much extra.
Correct. You can potentially reduce those overages. That's a direct cost saving on the expensive nutrient ingredients themselves. Plus, it allows for more precise manufacturing.
So, looking at the big picture, whether it's pharma or nutraceuticals, xanthan gum seems to offer this compelling package of benefits. Economic, operational.
It really does, if we boil it down. Reduced excipient costs, more efficient production through simpler processes, and better stability and effectiveness for the final product.
Plus, hitting those regulatory marks and meeting consumer demand for cleaner stuff.
Right. It all adds up to making it a very cost-effective, strategic choice for companies making tablets.
Let's just circle back on that stability point for a moment because it seems so critical. How exactly does it work? What's the mechanism?
Well, as we touched on, it's a hydrophilic polymer. It grabs onto water molecules.
Okay.
So within the tablet matrix, it essentially manages the moisture. It stops the tablet from, say, absorbing too much humidity from the air, which could cause it to break down prematurely, or maybe lose its structure in different conditions.
So it acts like a tiny internal humidity controller?
Sort of, yeah. It helps maintain the tablet's physical integrity, and by doing that, it also protects the active ingredients, keeps them stable and bioavailable for longer, reduces that degradation over the shelf life.
Okay, that makes sense. And the direct economic impacts of that stability?
They're significant. Better stability means fewer batch failures during production that saves materials, time, everything.
Avoids throwing out product.
Exactly. And, like we just discussed, it reduces the need for those costly overages. Plus, think about the downstream effects. Fewer product defects reaching the consumer means fewer complaints, fewer returns.
Which saves money on handling returns, customer service, and protects the brand's reputation.
Absolutely. Brand reputation is invaluable. Avoiding recalls or widespread issues linked to stability failures is a huge economic benefit, even if it's hard to quantify sometimes.
So it really touches the whole life cycle, from R&D and manufacturing right through to the end consumer experience and avoiding post-market costs.
That's a good way to put it. It contributes to both the technical quality and the overall manufacturing efficiency. It leads to more reliable products that meet standards and expectations. It's genuinely strategic.
So wrapping this up, it's clear that xanthan gum is, well, way more than just some inert powder you mix in. It's
Yeah.
actually playing a really active role in cost efficiency and the quality of these tablets.
That sums it up perfectly. Effective binder, reliable disintegrant that simplifies production, cuts costs, enhances stability, extends shelf life that minimizes waste, and protects value. It really supports the integrity of the product journey.
So for everyone listening, after this deep dive based on the information you shared, maybe consider this. Given all this versatility we've talked about, the benefits in pharma and nutraceuticals, what other unexpected places might this natural polymer pop up? Where else could it be useful? Maybe in your own work or even other industries entirely. Definitely something to think about.
Indeed. Some interesting possibilities there. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive.